Hey guys, Simon Murray here, owner of SM Designs, with yet another official Autowear video. This time we're going to be looking at some of the techniques and the paints that I use to paint this RV-8 plane. Now, the aircraft was brought to me already primed with an aviation-approved self-etching primer, and you can see we're in trouble here straight away. Particularly around the leading edge, we have a blatant product failure where the primer is actually coming off. A year or 2 years ago, I'd have been really worried about this. However, right now, with the Autowear line, this is simply a minor inconvenience. I'm just testing to see how far the paint is actually feeling, and at that stage I'm just feathering everything out and making sure it's not going to get any worse. Just using a tack rag here and a Scotch-Brite just to remove any little dirt imperfections, just general denibbing. I'm not at all worried about the fact that this aircraft is in bare alloy. So I'm just using an alcohol-based pre-cleaner, getting everything wiped down, getting it nice and chemically cleaned, and then I'm ready to start painting. I'm just taking a 10mm fine line tape, and you can see I'm just running my fine line tape along. This is where my design is going to begin, right over the offending area of the product failure where the etch primer has gone, and you can see I'm just pressing on. Not at all worried about it. Just using a Pro Mask system here, working nice and fast, getting everything masked up. As I say, a year or 2 years ago, I'd have been worried about this. I would have been obliged to reprime this whole area. Now, however, with the new auto-borne sealers, I'm not even going to bother with it. I'm actually going to apply the auto-borne sealer straight over the self-etching primer and also over the bare alloy. Now, what I'm doing is I'm putting in the auto-borne sealer, and I'm actually going to reduce this with 4012. 4012 is the official reducer with auto-borne sealer. You don't have to thin the auto-borne sealer, but I like to put 10% in there just to help it flow a little bit better, especially on a pretty large project like this. I'm just taking my mix now, I'm putting it into my Iwata Supernova, and I have a 1.3 setup, which is the optimum setup here. Later on in the video, you'll see me using the LPH80. That'll be a 0.8. However, for laying down the sealers, I prefer the 1.3. This is 6013 Sealer Silver. Guys, this is the ground coat you want to put down. This is your base for all our silvers, whether it's aluminium, pearl, or metallic. This here will cover it instantly and give you a really good foundation for any metallics, any silvers thereafter, giving you great orientation. Now, I'm actually spraying here at about 25 phi, which if you watch any of my videos, you'll know that this is about as low as you've ever seen me spray. And what that's doing is it's keeping my overspray down to a minimum and giving me maximum transfer efficiency. I'm pretty much floating it out here, as you can see. I could cover this in one coat, however, I never really want to leave it the chance. So even though I'm getting the obvious coverage here, you can see, I'll still want to give this 2 coats. You can really see here how much I floated this out. I mean, be under no illusion, this paint is wet. There's no doubt about that. However, in just a 15-minute flash off time, you can see it's completely dull. At that stage, I'm ready for another coat. I could denib, but I'm happy at this moment just to press on. And this is my second and final coat. And you can see all the areas where I had the bare alloy from the product failure of the etch primer completely gone. If you get any bits of dirt, you know you're going to at some stage, I can just come in and denib. Guys, this is less than 1 hour, okay? Less than 1 hour, and I'm aggressively dry sanding this sealer. Now I'm coming in with my actual colour, which is 4102, and that's aluminium medium. By far our most reflective silver. So this is going to be my ground coat colour, and I'm going to put 200ml in here. Now I'm using a 1.3 spray gun. However, I'm not going to reduce it. I'm not going to use any reduction whatsoever. What I am going to do is I'm going to put in 4030 clear intercoat. Now you're going to see this a lot in this video, and I'm going to talk about it a lot in this video. However, I absolutely recommend putting 10% 4030 into all our paints right across the spectrum, whether it's Autowear, whether it's Wicked. Get that 4030 in. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Now, I'm coming in with my silver here, the medium. And you can see I'm working a lot faster. My air pressure is a little bit higher. And the reason why I'm able to be more relaxed here is because the Sealer Silver has done the work. It broke the back. I've got the colour. Now I'm just looking for metallic orientation. I'm ready to start putting my design down now, and I've just cut paper templates. I do this if I'm working on a car or a really large project. and then I just go around the outside with my fine line tape. But what it does is it acts basically as a very basic template, so I can transfer that from one side to the other, especially later on in the video when I come to do the wings that are particularly large. So you see I've got my design marked out now. I've identified my target area, and I'm about to use pearlized black. However, before I put down the pearlized black, I'm going to use 6002 Autoborn Sealer Black. However, before I put the Autoborn Sealer Black down, I'm going to go back to the 4030 we looked at a moment ago, which is the Intercoat Clear. Now, I'm going to use it for a completely different purpose. We know that if we put 10% into my paint, it makes the paint a lot tougher, they dry better, a lot smoother. However, as I say, I'm just going to put this neat into my gun. You can reduce it a little bit, but I tend to shoot it neat, and this is a 0.8mm gun. And what I'm doing is I'm using it to go around all my fine line tape edges. And what it will do is it will actually get in there and it will seal everything up for me. And it will completely eliminate paint creep or underspray. Just one coat is enough to seal the whole area up, and it dries super fast. That paves the way for me to come in now with my 6002 Autoborn Sealer Black, and I can be a little bit more aggressive with the black. I can put it in there and I know that I have got absolutely no paint creep whatsoever. It will completely eliminate paint creep, and I can just build up subsequent coats now. I'm coming in with my actual colour now, which, as I said earlier, is pearlized black. So I'm just going to measure out 200ml of the pearlized black, and I'm going to put some 4030 in there. As I say, that just basically toughens it up, makes it flow better, behave better, dries a lot faster and a lot tougher. So 10%, guys, it's not exact, you know, sometimes it's a little bit more, a little bit less, but it's a good starting point if you're using the product. And into that I'm going to put a little bit of 4020. This is our new Automotive Reducer. I could use 4012. 4020 is a little bit faster, dries a little bit quicker. And I'm just coming in now with the pearlized black. And again, the Sealer Dark has done all the work for me, so I'm just using the pearlized black for metallic orientation. When I've got that down, I'm coming in with a new colour now. And what this is, it's actually aluminium coarse with approximately 5% of the pearlized black mixed into that, and a little bit of 4030. I'm going to use this colour quite a bit in this design. Just progressing my design a little bit more. It's actually quite an intricate design. It's like a checkered fading into virtually nothing. So I'm just using my 1.5mm FBS tape here to get my radiuses. And then I'm just going to cross them over to create the checkered effect. The next color I'm going to use is just neat pearlized black again. However, this time I'm putting in 20% 4030. 10% is your normal for just general spraying. However, what I'm wanting to do here is I'm wanting to increase the transparency of the paint, but still keep the pigment in suspension. So I don't want to just thin it out. I want the paint still to behave itself. The key to doing good fades is to have your paint transparent, and the best way to do that is to put that 40-30 in there at least 20%. Sometimes I'll even go 30%, but you see I still have my opacity on the leading edge. I've still got that neat pearlized black, and yet it fades into nearly nothing. And it's actually the 40-30 that help facilitate that fade. Moving on to the next section now, and it's just basically shapes and scallops I'm coming in with, and this is Autoborn Sealer Red. My target color, final color, will be pearlized radiant red, but I'm just putting down Sealer Red first. And once I put the radiant red on, I can now start to remove the edges, and you can just see how sharp these edges are. Guys, they are uber sharp. There's not a single blemish on these edges, and that's because I sealed everything up with the 40-30. Okay, so the starter's over, now we're on to the main course. I'm onto the fuselage now, 1.3 Autoborn Sealer Silver, the 6013, and I am just one coat wandering here. You can see I'm just floating it out here. Let it flash off, and again, listen to how hard I'm sanding here. I'm being pretty aggressive, and over the top of that, I'm coming in with my Autoborn Sealer Black, and then the pearlized black, just the same as you saw me do on the tail fin. The designs are a little bit bigger now, so I'm switching from my 1.5mm and I've moved up to my 3mm. 1.5mm, it would kind of wander a little bit on a big design like this. 3mm behaves itself a little bit better. And I'm just upcycling my mask in here for speed and make it a little bit more efficiency. Ready to come in now, and I'm in with a big gun. It's the same fade, guys, fundamentally exact same fade. Coming in with a big gun, the 1.3, no reduction whatsoever, but I'm just using that 20% 40-30 to control everything. I can fade this, I can stop, have a cup of tea, regroup, have a think about it. I have the luxury now because I've increased the transparency, so I can just build it up and build it up. The key to doing big fades like this is patience. Just take your time and just let it paint itself. Just progressing the design now, move along on the checkered theme. Get everything masked up, and I'm just creating another shape here, like another sort of scallop, and I'm just using a mixing cup. You could use pretty much anything. Sometimes I use like paper plates and little saucers, but a mixing cup's a good thing, and it gives you a nice, clean, even radius. Just using my 6mm tape and going round, following the shape of the cup, and of course it's easy for me then to measure off the other side. Ready to start painting now and coming in with, yeah, you guessed it, of course that's the 40-30 again, and we know why I'm using it, and there we go in with a bigger gun, 1.3. I can be nice and aggressive now, work really fast, knowing that everything's sealed up. I know I've said it before, but guys, it really is the key to getting these super sharp lines. More importantly, it's the key to getting fast, sharp lines. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the design. Everything's where it needs to be. I've got my fades, everything's in control, no product failures, no paint lifting whatsoever, and I'm ready now to start the artwork. The actual design I've shamelessly stolen from a friend of mine, Terry Stevens. He's a phenomenal artist. He's from New Zealand, but that's not his fault. Anyway, it's a Terry Stevens design. Please check out his work. What I'm doing is I'm just cutting out the negative stencil. I've placed the positive on the aircraft and I'm cutting out the negative. I'm cutting it into segments because when I come to marry them up, it's a little bit difficult on a curved surface. You'll have big problems in particular on crash helmets, anything curved like this. So it's a good idea to cut the negative into little sections just to get that perfect marriage. Whenever you're happy and you've got it completely reversed, I'm just removing the positive stencil. Now, make sure you've got everything locked down, and I'm coming in with Autoborn Sealer Grey. Again, no reducer. Reducer equals paint creep, guys. So just coming in here, fairly dry, just a couple of light coats, 3 super light coats will get me the coverage I need. And all I'm doing at this stage is just identifying target areas and swapping negative stencils to positive stencils. I'm just making sure I've got everything locked down. I'm a bit paranoid about this, but I know prevention is a lot better than cure. It can take a long time to fix underspray. So just get everything completely locked down before you start. Now the next color I'm coming in with is semi-opaque lemon yellow. I've probably got about only 10% reducer in here just to help it atomize a little bit. Remember, too much reducer and you will get paint creep. So I'm just starting to remove the masking now. Just coming in now with some transparent smoke black and about 20% 40-12 reducer. This is a real basic cartoon, just 0.5 eclipse work here. However, if you were looking for performance, real performance, try mixing the illustration line with 40-20 reducer. Now you're sucking diesel. That is the ultimate in performance. But like I say, this is just bulk work here. I'm happy to press on with just about 20% 40-12. Coming in with the white for a few highlights, and I up my reduction rate probably about 30% now. I always just put a little bit of extra reducer in there, particularly on the whites. They can be problematic, we all know that. Overall, I'm happy the way things are going. I'm just forming up here and blending in. As I say, 0.5 eclipse. There's no real dramas here, everything's taking shape, I'm in control. I just want to talk a little bit about reduction. You heard me mention the 40-12 and then the 40-20. Here I'm just using 40-12. 40-12 is the go-to. It is our reducer for pretty much everything, for all lines. However, when you would use the 40-20 is cold conditions, humid, okay? I live in Ireland here, cold night, painting a car. At that stage, I would definitely favour the 40-20. It will flash off much faster. In terms of airbrushing, there is no doubt, it will give you a higher level of atomization as opposed to the 40-12. I mean, this is super basic work here. I'm happy just to bog on with the 40-12, but as I say, the 40-20, higher levels of atomization if you want fine detail and just big areas. We call it our Automotive Reducer, and it is just that. It's for big scale work, really helps flash the paint off. Dries a lot tougher too, but as I say, just please, 40-12 is absolutely fine for everyday use. I'm almost finished here now with my teeth whitening. Can you imagine what your dentist would charge you for that? And just progressing things a little bit further, and this is just a little bit of smoke and mirrors, a few stencils, textured stencils, a bit of shenanigans, just to move things along a bit, make it look interesting. Just using my B-Fast stencil here to sharpen the edge a little bit. One of the main questions I get asked when I'm painting big scale stuff is how do I keep the symmetry between both sides? Well, in a situation like that, what I do is I photograph the side that's progressed the furthest on my mobile phone, and then I just invert that. I just flip it 180 degrees, and I use that as my reference to let me see where I need to go next, and that kind of saves me from running from side to side over and over again. A bit more progress here, and pretty much the whole face, the whole head of this little hornet is actually painted with this one stencil. It's just my B-Fast 2 stencil. And overall, I gotta be happy with this. I mean, it looks fine. I know it's super basic, but it's all there. The colors are there. It looks pretty decent, and now I'm ready for clear coating. Our paints are compatible with just about every clear coat I can find on the market. One thing is super important, particularly the water-based paint, is to get that first coat on nice and light. We call that a gripper coat. Once you've got that coat on, then you can really start to load it up and just come in with subsequent heavier and heavier coats to achieve full gloss. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the deadline on this was insane, especially when you consider you saw the primer coming off. On paper, this was a train wreck. However, I had no issues whatsoever, no product failures, no paint coming off at all. And I'm really putting that down to two things, and that was the auto-borne sealer. It's what gave me the ground coat and the speed. I mean, take a look at that aluminium medium. It's like chrome paint there. It's so reflective. That combined with a 40-30, this could have been hell on earth, and in actual fact it was a walk in the park. It was a straightforward paint job and there was no issues whatsoever. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this. If you want any more information, please check out our website, and thanks for watching.